Welcome back to another Horizon Media Group podcast. I'm Rob Mathis, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, some Sevier County royalty here, Mr. Jimbo Whaley. Thank you for being here, Jimbo.
Thanks, Rob. Glad to be here today and excited to be down here with you guys at Horizon.
Yes, yeah. So we were shooting some stuff today, some promotional materials for a show coming up.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. But first, let's talk about kind of this event coming up, Jimbo Whaley and Friends.
Yes.
Benefiting Isaiah 117 House.
Correct.
Kind of give me like a quick rundown of what that looks like.
Well, the Jimbo Whaley and Friends is sort of morphed into what it is now. And it's basically a huge concert we throw every year. This is the 17th year. 17th concert. It's been 18 years. We didn't do it last year because of COVID. And it started as just a CD release party. And then when I had a friend whose son had cancer, his name was Reagan Morris, and Rootin' for Reagan became the first viral anything I remember happening on Facebook. And so I decided I was going to give money to Rootin' for Reagan. And that started me going down the path of getting different charities and stuff to give to. And it's grown into what it is now. Full ad book. I'll have over 17 musicians and singers, plus 5 high school choirs. So that'll be 150 or 60 kids on stage at the end of the first set. And man, it's a great time. It's while it's a local event, I have people come from all over the country to this thing now. It's been unbelievable.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And it's really cool because it's really become a community fixture. I mean, something that people kind of look to every year, and it's something that has become a part of the community. What does that mean to you?
Oh, well, I tell people that's my people, and that's how I call it. The first time I sang Kings of Orbank, it's about growing up in Pigeon Forge. But there's an Orbank Road everywhere is what it boils down to. And people just long for that. When I think of Pigeon Forge, I don't think of 400 go-kart tracks and Ferris wheels and shows. I think of just little old Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, where me and my cousins and my brothers and sister grew up. And that's what that song, it just touched some people's hearts. And then it was unbelievable what it's turned into now. But as far as the community, we're very loyal to each other up there. And if I didn't have these folks behind us, we couldn't have done it this many times. There's no way. So yeah, you see the same people and they've got big smiles on their faces, and it's just wonderful. It's like a big reunion every year in March.
Well, it's really neat because something that I have observed, because I'm an East Tennessee boy as well, just one county over in Newport and Cott County. Yeah. And it's funny, when I met your son Turner, he was on the podcast. When we first met at UT, he said, I'm from, small town Pigeon Forge. And I remember sitting there thinking, I was like, small town Pigeon Forge. I was like, he's a city boy over there. I mean, we didn't know each other.
Right.
But having worked around Pigeon Forge and bringing Forge with Turner and working with you, you really start to see there's this really interesting dynamic there to where it is a small town that millions of people just happen to visit.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that kind of dynamic is very interesting to me because it's still a very closed, not necessarily a hostile closed community, but like everybody knows everybody.
Right.
And it just happens to be, there's the tourists areas and then there's like the small town.
Yeah.
What has it been like? I mean, because for you've probably been able to see it prosper the way it has.
Yes.
How has it looked from your vantage point, seeing it grow?
Sure. I'll give you just a great example. We bought the house that I grew up in. So my kids grew up in the house that I grew up in. And when I was a kid, it was a dirt road and we were out in the country. Mm-hmm. You didn't hear traffic. I mean, you could hear whippoorwills off in the distance. We felt like we were miles away from anything. And now when you look out the back window of my house, you see 77 homes on 17 acres of land that used to be the woods we played in. And right through the middle of it, you can see the wheel over there at the island and you can hear traffic 24 hours a day. And the growth has just been, it's been unbelievable. And people I do have to sort of tell people there are really locals that are from there and we do really live there. We have to go to Kroger sometimes. And unfortunately you go to Kroger in the middle of 16 million tourists on a Friday evening, but it's been wonderful. That's how we feed our families up there. Tourism is what what drives the whole thing. And so if you're going to live in Sevier County, you better have some tourism in your blood because it's what's paying for everything.
Yes. Well, now, so I want to get your perspective on this because you have worked in the tourism industry in some capacity for a long time, correct? Mm-hmm. How important is it to have, I would say, a lot of that growth can be attributed to being able to keep that core small town feeling.
Yes.
How important is that? Do you think that since you've been a part of the side of bringing more people in, but also the side of keeping everybody together, how important is it to balance those things?
It's a tough thing to do because at some point, when some people get a taste of all that money, there's not enough. Mm-hmm. There's not enough. You could bring it in dump truck loads and it wouldn't be enough. And what's crazy? At one point in Pigeon Forge, and this was before liquor by the drink and all this stuff, we had the number one Cracker Barrel in the United States of America on one end of town, the number two Cracker Barrel in the United States of America on the other end of town. We had the number one Ruby Tuesdays in their chain, the number one O'Charlie's in their chain, with no alcohol in those two restaurants. People it's God-fearing Christian people that used to really drive everything. Now, we've seen a different dynamic of people because of, I think, the internet and marketing, the way it's happened. At one time, Pigeon Forge, in their marketing dollars they spent, for every $1 that they spent, $19 came back. And that's been years ago. So it's a lot. I'm sure the number's a lot higher than that now. And so having a $10 million marketing budget used to be crazy, but now it's probably $50 million that they spend. And But as long as everybody's got a phone in their hand, it goes out all over the world. And last year during COVID, Gatlinburg was voted the number one tourist destination in the world by TripAdvisor. And that has a lot of legs to it. And so we've just seen that change. But what I hope and pray we hang on to, and it's getting harder to do, is people, I tell people this, people will come to Pigeon Forge and to Gatlinburg and to Sevierville. Yeah, they come to Dollywood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they come to the mountains. Yeah, they want to go to the Stampede. Yeah, they want to do the shopping. They come because of the people, because they're treated a certain way. And as long as we hang on to that, people will always come.
Yes. Well, and I think that right there perfectly describes why I feel comfortable saying that the growth of that whole area is in secure hands right now. As long as we keep that in frame, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with that. Absolutely.
So something kind of to pivot, another big part of your life has been music.
Yeah.
And your style of music, bluegrass, correct? And growing up in East Tennessee, I can 100% say day in and day out, even keeled, I rise and fall as far as like music trends and stuff go that I like.
Right.
But bluegrass hits a certain core of my being.
Right.
How important do you think it is that bluegrass stays with events like Jimbo Whaley and Friends a part of this community? How important is that?
Well, it's a big part of our community, and it's, I'll tell you how we got started. We were actually going to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to the American Bus Association bus show. And it's a bunch of people in tourism from the city of Pigeon Forge. And somebody had the idea to get some music together for an event we were doing. So somebody needed to get 45 minutes of music. And Mike Gwynn, who is a good friend of mine, volunteered me to be in a band. And I could play 3 chords on the guitar. And he said, Jimbo Whaley down there sings, and I think he plays guitar, and I play bass. Well, Kipper Stitt, who was sitting right across the way from him, played banjo. And that's how I got into bluegrass, by that. And that's what started Pine Mountain Railroad, just off of that. We were volunteered to do that. And 2 years later, we were nominated for Emerging Artist of the Year in all of bluegrass music. And so it just fits, though. The songs I've written, people come looking for that. Mm-hmm. And it fits our area. I mean, we sing songs about Mount LeConte, and we sing songs about rolling stores and rough rivers and trains and all that stuff. It just fits the area. And, it's so prominent in our neck of the woods, Jeff County, Cocke County, Sevier County. You could go to any bluegrass festival, walk out under a shade tree, pick 5 different guys with 5 different instruments, and they'd be as good as any bluegrass band in the country. That's how serious it is around here. And once it gets in your blood, a lot of people don't know. A lot of people think Man of Constant Sorrow was actually sung by George Clooney.
Yes.
It was not. That's a Ralph Stanley song, but that was Dan Tominski of the Alison Krauss band that sung it in the movie. That was the wave that hit, where everybody got a little taste and they fell in love with it. And it, that sort of died off. But once you get that in your blood, there is nothing I would rather hear than a banjo played at the top of the neck, just drive it, and it's just an addiction. Yes. I love it. And I drove my wife crazy trying to learn to play. We opened for Charlie Daniels. I could play 3 chords, G, C, and D, 20,000 people, scared to death. That's what I was, terrified. And somehow we got through that, and we decided we were going to do it for a living, and off we went. But as far as it being what it is in our area, it just fits. It fits the mountains. It really does.
Well, what's funny is kind of thinking about what makes, East Tennessee a destination, the Smoky Mountains a destination. I think the culture, like you're saying, it's the people that why people keep coming back. And sure. I think something that helps the people is the culture, right? It's a collection of people. It's the culture. I think a huge part of the culture is music.
Yep.
And it's very neat to have artists as yourself that are creating music for the locals, by locals, for locals, and it's a part of your heritage. And it's funny because, no shade on Myrtle Beach. My family went there for years, but you go to Myrtle Beach and you listen to Jimmy Buffett. Jimmy Buffett's not singing about Myrtle Beach.
No.
But you are singing about those memories that are happening right then and there. And that is what builds a culture that draws in hundreds of millions of people.
Sure. And people ask me all the time about, but where do I get my ideas? Well, I lived them. Mm-hmm. That's what it boils down to. I lived them. Just across the street from here is the Tennessee Museum, the East Tennessee Historical Museum. Well, there's a chair in there, and the chair was made by Jack Huff. And I wrote a song called The Legend of Jack Huff. And it's what he did with that chair. His mom was sick and had cancer. And her last request was to go to the top of Mount LeConte and see the sunrise come up one more time. He didn't know how else to take her. He put her in that straight back kitchen chair and took the straps off his horses and strapped his mama to his back and walked her 6 miles up to the top of Mount LeConte. And so we have and that's, I think, what really people really sort of connect with me on is I can tell that story and then play the song. And so they're like, oh my goodness, that's pretty cool. And the story, the sad part of that story was she was up there for 3 days. It rained the whole time. She didn't get to see the sunrise.
Yeah.
But you can put your hands on that chair just across the street from your office here. It's pretty crazy.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. MR's Rolling Store, my grandfather drove a rolling store back in the 1930s. And that song, of all the songs I've ever written, when you it's fun when you're working it up, but when you finally get it and the whole band plays it that first time, it's magic. And that song was magic. It's like a Sunday afternoon drive. And the recording I have of it, Turner was 6 years old when he sang the lead on it. And it was so sweet. And it's pretty cool that just really happened. And all I did was wrote down the items that Papa talked about he would have on his store, jewel tea dishes and different things. And so I wrote them down, made them match, and MR's Rolling Store was born.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
That's amazing. That is amazing. So, there's such a storied history, in Eastern Tennessee and in the mountains and stuff like that. What do you see as far as growth into the future? What is your vision? You have a lot of great relationships with the people all around Sevier County,
sure,
and the surrounding areas. What do you kind of see?
What I hope that I see is they don't forget. I always tell any politician, don't forget where you came from. That's what got us here. And what I hope and pray does not happen. You got people moving in here from different places with different ideas and different ways of doing things. Well, they moved away from their place for a reason. Mm-hmm. They didn't like how it was going there. And I hope that we just remember what's important about East Tennessee. And you can already feel things sort of change a little bit, but the truth is we are God-fearing people. We're very big on our families, and we work hard for a living. We were raised to go to work. And as long as we don't forget that, I think everything will be fine. As far as Sevier County, man, it's a juggernaut financially right now. And I don't think people in these big cities, maybe they're starting to pay attention a little bit. I mean, you have Blackberry over here that the hot shots from New York City come to. They've marketed up there. But I think that if they knew exactly how much money rolled through East Tennessee, they would be just absolutely shocked. Yeah. I just hope we just remember that it's the small things that made us what we are. I mean, it really boils down to, as long as we treat people the way they're supposed to be treated and make them feel the way they're supposed to feel, we'll stay successful for many years to come. I hope my grandkids I hope they get to see that.
Oh yeah. Well, that's amazing. And before we wrap up, I want to wrap back around to the show.
Sure.
And this is kind of the first year, right? So your children have been involved in the show in minor roles, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But they're taking more steps, correct?
Sure.
What does that mean to you for legacy reasons?
It means the world to me. To have my son, and that we can almost trace their lives through that yearly show, the pictures. Olivia, the first time Olivia was on stage with me, we were at Mills Auditorium, about 1,000 people. She had this little blue dress on. She was the sweetest thing ever. And I said, Olivia, do you have anything you want to say to these people? And she was whispering to me. And there's a picture of me leaned down and she's talking to my ear. And she said, Daddy, I'm scared. And I said, well, you don't have to be scared, honey. And just memories like that. Turner one time got up on stage with us and had gum in his mouth. And so I put my hand down and said, spit that out, boy. He spit that gum out, and I'm sitting there looking, I'm waiting, everybody's watching. What am I going to do with that gum? And so I just went and put it in my mouth. Yeah. And those memories, and then with my little brother being a part of it, my dad and mom being a part of it, and getting my wife out of her comfort zone's been a lot of fun. For me, it thrills my heart that she gets out of that comfort zone to be a part of it. She's sung with me several times. We've sung Jackson by June Carter and Johnny Cash, and we've sung the Judds and Alison Krauss stuff, and it just memories. My grandmother was always a big part of it. I always recognized her. She lived to be 95 years old, and I guess this will be the first time I've done a show since she's like this, since she's been gone. And, that Kings of Orbank, that centers around Mama and Papa's house. And it's just for my family to be a part of it. And I hope and pray that they continue, even when I'm not able to. Mm-hmm. To be able to do something for 5 years is a big deal. 10 years, huge. I got to 10 and I said, well, maybe we'll go to 15. And we went to 15, and I said, well, let's try for 20. And for it to happen like it's happened and continue to grow, it would be a shame for it just to quit. Mm-hmm. But we've just been adopted up there by Sevier County, and it's been fabulous. But my kids they've played a bigger role. Like today, we were down here with you filming commercials for my sponsors. So my whole family was part of that. A couple of months ago, we actually sang at a church. And it was the first time ever in our lives that me, Ginger, Turner, and Olivia were all four singing together on stage. And that was just a thrill for that to happen. They're entertainers. They don't know any other way. And so it's been great.
Well, that's awesome. Well, and having spent time around you, and everybody's an entertainer, I can 100% attest to that. But also, it is so cool to see really what drives me, and I tell this to, anybody really, is what drives me is legacy, is building something that, when I look back and my grandchildren look back at the family tree, they say, this is where things change for our family.
Right.
And seeing things like this really inspire me. They make me excited, and hearing those stories really make me excited to do more things. And it makes me excited to be a part of this now. And so
we're thrilled that you are a part of it, Rob. Yes. And what you guys are doing down here at Horizon, what you're doing for my show, you're taking me and this show to another level. And when somebody like that gets a part, what you're doing and what you can do for businesses, you've got two choices: either get out of the way or get run over. That's what it is. And so with what you're doing and the video stuff we're doing and the commercial stuff we're doing and everything, it's next level stuff. And I'm proud of you and what you guys stand for down here. You and Dalton are so talented. And I think once people realize that, you're going to be so busy you don't know what to do. I think that's coming. And just the ideas we've talked about, you guys are, and as I walked down the hall today towards your office, I could hear y'all talking. So you're constantly, it's turning constantly. And that's how you get successful. There's no rest. You have to be on it all the time. And even, when Turner said that you were from Cock County, you're nothing like I envisioned you to be. And I love some people at Cock County. I went to college with a lot of guys from over there, and the Grease Rack and Fox and the Hound. That was a big place we used to eat over there. And so Cock County that's real East Tennessee people over there. It really is. And a lot of our workforce in Sevier County comes from, you get waited on in any restaurant in Gatlinburg, chances are they're from Cock County.
Yeah, my mama worked most of her working life going up to working in the hospitality.
See how you said mama?
Yes.
Yeah, people from up north don't know what we're talking about. You might as well order sweet tea.
Yeah, sweet tea.
Does your mama make sweet tea? And they said, what?
Yeah. And they bring you out a glass of brown water.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I really appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate you coming down.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being on the podcast. And I do want to encourage everybody to stop by the show. And do you want to give the details on? Yeah,
you can go to www.jimbowhaley.com. It's JIMB as in boy, OWHALEY.com, or look my name up on Facebook. You can buy your tickets there. And I've always said, Rob, I've tried to create this. Well, I'm a salesman. So you try to create that urgency.
Yes.
The fact is I sold all 1,200 tickets that I have, and I ordered 150 more.
Okay.
Once that 150 is gone, that's it. And I've never been this far away from the show and had that happen.
Really?
Never.
Wow.
I mean, it's just never been that way. So if you want to come, please go online, jimbowhaley.com, get the tickets. They're $20. It is for some of the proceeds go to that Isaiah house, which is, we didn't talk enough about that.
Oh, yes,
and it's just imagine the worst day in a child's life happening. And a lot of times that's when they're home. They don't know it's bad. And suddenly some stranger comes and takes them out of that home. Well, if there's nowhere else to go, they go to the DHS office and they sit there. And they could sit there a week. Well, the Isaiah house is a house, and they pour out love. One of the words they don't use at Isaiah house is no. If the kid says, I want 4 Big Macs, they'll do everything they can to go get the kid 4 Big Macs. So they're taking what is that worst day ever and making it a positive thing. And that's something that's near and dear to my heart. And when I met those 2 ladies from over there, April and Mallory, I was all in. And so the fact that we're able to help people like that with this is just a thrill to me. And I'll promise you this, there's 100% satisfaction guarantee or your money back. I will guarantee that everybody there will be satisfied. Absolutely, 100%. There'll be people that they love bluegrass, all right? So when we crank up, you're going to be tickled to death and satisfied. There's going to be people that want to hear some gospel music. You're going to hear that. You'll be satisfied, all right? Then there are going to be people that are there that didn't really know what they was coming for, and they might hate it. Eventually, we'll stop playing. They'll be satisfied. Everybody there will be satisfied. No, seriously, I'll have something in every genre of music. I'll promise I'll hit you somewhere. Just come on and be a part of it.
Well, cool. Well, I'm so excited. I'm excited to be there.
Shoot, yeah.
Yes, I'm hankering for some good bluegrass. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.